E aí galera da Farfetch Club, beleza? I'm here in Miami with my friend the monster Vince Taylor.
In the house, baby.
Yeah, he's one of the best bodybuilders in the world for us and for all the American people. And I'm here at his gym to make an interview and say a little bit about you. So I will make some questions for you about your life, your history.
Let's do it.
So let's do it. I made here, I prepared 12 questions.
Only 12?
Only 12.
I'm interested. Maybe
Yeah,
15?
can be. We do more. So let's go. How did you get started in the bodybuilding world?
That's a good question.
A good question.
And a lot of years ago.
Okay.
Actually, I got started after seeing a bodybuilding contest in Germany, where I used to live, in Berlin. 1982, 1983. I had an argument with my girlfriend.
Oh.
So I left the house and I went driving around and I rode up on an auditorium. And it said bodybuilding championships, you know, the Berlin bodybuilding championships. I like bodybuilding all my life, you know, as a child and everything, but never did it, you know, just, you know, TV.
Yeah.
And I had opportunity to go in. So I went in, I was just watching. Then I saw a guest poser by the name of John Brown.
Yeah.
And American, I'm in Germany, not a lot of black Americans over there. And I'm in this auditorium and this guy comes on stage, 6'2", 240 pounds of mass muscle.
Big, a big guy.
Huge. I mean, he was just loaded. I was like,
Oh my God.
crazy.
How?
How do you do that?
Yeah.
And I love bodybuilding, but I never saw a professional as such. And when I saw John and he was posing, and it just was crazy. So I introduced myself to him. He spoke with me, and it was really great. You know, he's like, "Man, you should do bodybuilding. You got some arms, you got calves, you know." And I'm like, "Okay, anything you say."
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got me started because he had so many beautiful women just. I'm thinking, wait, now I'm gonna go to the club when I leave here, and I gotta go and dance and stand around all night, and all these women are just running up to this guy.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I gotta get some muscles.
Of course.
So I figured I'll get me some muscles and I'll get me some women too.
Great.
And that's when I started.
So you answered the second question. How did it all start? So it was like this.
That's how it started.
And was it hard?
When I think back, I'm not going to say it was hard. It was interesting. It was like, because I was very athletic. You know, I'm living in Germany. I couldn't do any of the sports because I was not in the army. I went over to Berlin to visit my brother. And I got there. I loved it so much. I left America, went back to Germany, and stayed for 13 years. So when I got started with John's help, this was all about watching your body change every day. Now, I would sit down with a bunch of my friends and read the magazines, the Joe Weider magazines, and this guy, the Lee Haney's, the Lee Labradas, and, you know, like, wow, these are like cartoon characters to me. And then when I met John and, you know, and he was talking about it, and I started training a little bit with his instructions. He's in California, I'm in Germany. And he told me, you know, if you like it that much, then come to California, visit me, and I'll show you how bodybuilders really live and train.
And you went
and
there.
I did that.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was amazing. Scared me.
Okay.
It was great though.
So, did you have any support from your family?
In bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Nah. Just bodybuilding is something I found late in the years, and it was, to me, I don't want my sons to do it. I want them to do something else as they are doing.
Yeah.
But you know, for me, bodybuilding was cool because I kind of understood it. But I don't want my sons doing it.
No. Okay. Who do you think was your biggest supporter?
You mean as in my career?
Yeah.
I got my wife. My wife. My girlfriend earlier, she was right there, you know. Believe it or not, my whole entire career, it's always been me and my wife.
Yeah.
You know, I never had a training partner. Never had a nutritionist, somebody to talk about supplements to me. It was my wife, you know. We would do everything. She helped me with my posing routines. You know, when
This
I'm getting ready
is
for
very
contest,
important.
she made all my food, made sure I ate right, or stayed on my little diet. But no, I have to give her 100% of the credit because she was always there.
Yeah,
always.
Great. Yeah. What have you done to achieve this body?
Wow.
Everyone wants to know this.
Two things. Number one, I found the right sport. Okay?
Great.
So my genetics played a very good role in bodybuilding. It didn't take much for me to get my arms to grow or my calves to grow. That was one of the body parts I had in high school before I even thought about actual bodybuilding. But when I started training, I noticed that my body would respond very easily.
Yeah.
So one, genetics was fantastic.
Great.
Then when I got a chance to understand from John Brown's teaching, from all the magazines and everybody I spoke to about, how do you develop a body? I did what everybody does. You go to the magazines and you do this, and you do that. You do all of that. And it became so much information, and a lot of this information works. There's no question about it. But you have to find out what works for you. And that's what I was doing. I did a little of this, I was doing that. I always believed in a little bit goes a long way. But one thing I did not believe in was eating a lot of food. I'm not a big food eater, I never was. 3 meals a day, maybe 4. Bodybuilders eat 8 meals.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Never could.
But for you, it works.
For me, it works. Coca-Cola, red meat, and ketchup. I got Coke, my hamburger. I'm good.
Then you're good. Okay. Would you like to share any tips that have worked for you?
Yeah. 2. Let's start with motivation.
Motivation.
When you come into a gym like this or any other gym every day.
Okay.
Motivation is getting to that spot where you don't know why things are not working or what are you doing. It becomes for me, back up, take a look at why you came in the first place. The question becomes, what's your why? What is your why? Why are you here?
Why are you here?
If you always remember the why, then that's the motivation. So I developed that type of pattern to figure out what keeps me going. And once I got started into the sport, then it becomes a question of, what's the best way to do this or the best way to do that? So I open up my mind to say everything works.
Yeah.
Everything works. And just find a certain pattern of what works for you. And that necessarily does not have to be your everyday Bible of bodybuilding or working out or training. All that's different. I'm a guy that basically takes 8 to 10 repetitions on my shoulders when I'm training. Some guys do 12 or 15. Some guys use 12 repetitions when they're training. 3 sets of 10. There's always 10 reps. I was like, what
Why?
is with the 10 reps?
No.
Maybe if you did 11, that's the magic number. So I learned not to count
numbers.
Don't count numbers. I learned how to motivate myself, and I learned how to get an actual feeling from what I'm doing when I have the weights in my hand. I know what I'm looking for, and I know what I'm trying to feel.
You feel
I
the
feel the training that I'm doing.
Okay.
That's what's important.
This is very important because in our videos we always say this.
Oh yeah, well you right on time then.
Yeah. Okay. What made you start competing?
That's a good question. That's really good. When I did that the training that I was doing with John Brown, and of course I wanted to try it out, so I couldn't wait for my first show. And when I was able to get ready for the show for 3 months of dieting the way I did and training like crazy, I'm eating tuna fish and corn and water for 3 months. It's like I had no idea about dieting. So after I got myself ready, I'm very skinny to go to my competition. I arrived at my competition. I was training with a really good friend of mine. He was a heavyweight and I was a light heavyweight. I know absolutely nothing about bodybuilding. I'm asking my friend, hey man, what do I do? What do I do, right? And so he's telling me, Vince, just follow me, follow me. So I picked him up in the morning from his home and we drove to this auditorium, and I get right out front of the gym, an auditorium, and car accident. Right outside the door. So I'm sitting there and everybody's going inside, the show is starting. I'm outside with the police. So he finishes with me and I'm ready to leave now. So the guy says, okay, you can go, Vince. I'm looking at my watch, I'm late, I gotta go, hurry up. So I get in my car and I drive to the red light, and I looked up and the car was in front of me, pulled off, and I turned around and I drove and I hit another car. So 2 accidents in 5 minutes. And then I finally left. I left that and I ran into the auditorium. So I'm in there and I'm walking around, and I noticed these guys were on stage. And my friend and I were sitting in the very front row in the auditorium watching the show. And I kept saying to myself, these guys look like me.
Yeah.
You know? And I said, wait a minute, let me go take a look. So I opened the door backstage and I heard my name, Vince Taylor. I'm like, over here. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm watching the show. He said, well, your class is on stage right now, so you're finished. You can go home. I'm like, what? 3 months of dieting, tuna fish and corn and water. Now I have to go home? I can't compete? He says, or you can compete in the heavyweight class, which is my friend's class. I'm like, oh God. Okay, I'll compete in the heavyweight class.
Really?
So I told my friend,
Yeah.
I back out and I sit down. I told him I missed my class. I had to compete with you. And he says, okay, that's cool. Just follow me. Long story short, I won.
Yeah.
So that made me really compete. It made me like competing. Then it gave me that such a feeling that, man, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Because all the ladies were there.
Oh, all for the ladies.
All the ladies are there. They were all in the crowd. So that was
Okay, great. And when was your first show?
Mr. Berlin. 1984. 84. That's the one I wrecked my car. You know, and I had to do the heavyweight class rather than the light heavies, which I was stitched. And I won the show.
Won?
My class. So
Great.
1984. That was the very first one.
Very first one. Great. And how did you feel?
Oh. Wow. First of all, to go through that crazy morning with the accidents and everything, and to win that event and have all those people just going crazy and getting a trophy, and it was just an amazing feeling. You know, it was something that I always thought it would be really great when you're training for that, to be standing on stage. I always went to the auditorium, I looked at the trophies on the stage, like, I want that one. I gotta have that one.
I can imagine.
You know, all the time. And that was a perfect feeling.
Estamos aqui na Explode com o Fábio Giga, com a Fefa, que já esteve conosco, mas agora é a mendigata famosa aí.